So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of LTI, I welcome you all for this webinar session on creating independent learning in English classrooms. So, before we move on to the session, I would like to play a prom clip on LTI for people who are yet to know about LTI. Thank you for watching. I welcome you all back. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Manju Gautam, LTI Chapter Head, Delhi South. She is working as a head of the school and Directorate of Education, Delhi. She also facilitates the sessions on School Leadership Development Program being run by Government Schools of Delhi. Manju ma'am, may I request you to take over the session?
Thank you very much, Praveen sir. A very good evening to all the teachers, teacher trainers, students, and lovers of English language present here. I welcome you all on this wonderful evening to this very informative webinar on creating independent learning in English classrooms. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn, no doubt." Engaging and involving students in creating independent learning is an art, and this is what our today's session is all about. The first speaker for today's session is Mrs. Gauri Shivashankar. Mrs. Gauri has a rich experience of 25 years in education. She started her career as an English teacher for senior grades and provided her services at some of the leading schools such as Chettinad Vidyashram, DAV Gopalpuram, Chennai, and Amity International, Delhi. As head trainer with ICFAI Group and later with Velamal Education Trust for over 10 years, she designed and delivered training programs leading to placement preparedness for engineering students. Presently, she is working as a senior principal in Chettinad Harishari Vidyalayam in Chennai. Our second speaker is Mrs. Vidya. She is a motivated, experienced, and qualified educator with a passion for teaching. She believes in adopting innovative, creative, and holistic methods of teaching for the all-round development of students. She holds B.Ed degree and post-graduation in education management. She is a homeroom teacher and curriculum head for primary grades at Chettinad Harishri Vidyalayam, Chennai. She has a rich experience of 2.5 decades. During this time, she has handled kindergarten and primary homeroom classes, coordinated as team leader, planned curriculum modules, and organized various school events. As an educator, Mrs. Vidya believes that teaching and learning should be a pleasure for both the educator and the learner. Our third speaker for today's session is Mrs. Satya. She is a dedicated and committed primary educator, teaching for more than a decade. She is the curriculum head and homeroom teacher for primary grades at Chettinad Harishri Vidyalayam, Chennai. She holds a postgraduate degree in biochemistry with bachelor's in education. She designs curriculum, conducts workshops, and leads her team to innovative practices in primary education. Ms. Satya believes in creating a stimulating classroom that motivates the children to evolve holistically in all the areas. Our second moderator is Mrs. Himal Handu Bhatt, Principal Hansraj Model School, Panchabi Bagh. She has been conferred with the prestigious CBSE Teacher Award and State Teacher Award in 2020. Once again, I welcome all the speakers and moderator to this webinar. Now, I would like to invite Mrs. Himal to take over the session. Thank you. Mrs. Himal, over to you.
Thank you, Manju ma'am. Thank you so much for that, and what a way to begin today's session. Today we have in our presence a trinity, three ladies who are going to take us through the session today, which is going to be on creating independent learning in English classrooms. Well, we all know, ladies and gentlemen out there, independent learning, as some of you would also know, is also self-directed learning, also autonomous learning. And if you want to say, you could add another word, there's self-regulated learning. And this is a form of learning that gives freedom to the learner to dive deep into his or her capabilities and identify the strengths and work upon the shortcomings to hold the skills. This form of learning has taken a very significant jump over the years, but has earned a prominent place for itself during the pandemic year 2020 due to the virtual schooling across the globe. We have the ladies coming from Chennai, from the Chettinad Harishri Vidyalayam, and we are so glad to have these speakers, and we're looking forward to the session. Without wasting much of the time, here we go for independent learning and the strategies that they have implemented in their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Himal, for that wonderful introduction. I need to check if I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible, man. Go on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank Dr. Ilango, Secretary LTI, Professor Sam, our bridge to the world today, right? The tech person who's helping us reach out for this wonderful opportunity to be able to talk to teachers on a national platform, national and probably international too. Wishing you all a wonderful evening. Dear Dr. Ilango, distinguished members of LTI, who has been putting so many webinars. We've done, I think, about 39. We are the 39th and we are expecting ready for the 40th. It's so brilliant to hear about it. It is indeed a privilege and a pleasure to be presenting at such a forum, sharing our little classroom experiments, our reflections with such an erudite audience today. Never waste a good crisis, said Churchill. Pandemic has been one great opportunity in spite of all the problems that came with that. It has brought an immense opportunity for all of us to be able to connect right from our homes and still discuss major issues, learn from each other and connect to each other. So here we bring and help us keep helping children learn. That has been our motto, that teachers across the world have been able to do this. Irrespective of what challenges we are facing at home, we've been able to stay connected with learning and help children continue learning. And I think that is, we are also being listed under frontline workers, if you notice, in many, many countries. And I think that says it all for the kind of work the teachers are doing around this time. Independent learning, though we've been working on it for the last couple of years as a team, it has never gained more significance than this particular year. In a classroom, it became the need of the time when it came to online learning. In the next 30 minutes, me and my colleagues, Ms. Vidya and Ms. Satya, the curriculum designers at our school, we come from the same school, and classroom designers, they're curriculum designers and classroom practitioners. They're teaching also. They will be sharing our tryst with independent learning and our takeaways. Keep calm and make school fun. Okay, and when we say make school fun, then automatically learning also has to be fun. So independent learning projects or independent learning activities gives us a chance to make learning very, very interesting and make learning fun. So what is independent learning? So I've gone for the simplest definition I could find: the ability to take charge of one's learning. Okay, while we started this whole project, we did not wait to look for a definition, but now to present to the forum, I definitely had to look for a definition here. The ability to take charge of one's learning is what I found as the simplest and the most direct kind of definition by Holek. Okay, so the focus and the operative word is the ability, the word ability. So we will see how it goes on the next 3 points given under it. Being able to make informed choices and taking responsibility for your own learning activities. So there is one ability there, which is very, very important. The informed choices. Help the child make informed choices. Now the question comes, if you're helping the child, is this independent learning? Okay, we will answer this through the present. Keeping the child motivated and helping him feel confident. Okay, and third, the ability to reflect. The ability to reflect on one's work, the ability to decide, how far have you come and how far more to go? Have you reached the destination the way you planned, or do you have to do some reworking? So something around that would be the reflection. And so that is another very, very important quality. So these are the three possibly very important that define independent learning. But as we go into the further slides, we will be elaborating it a bit. Okay, so now if you say independent learning, does that mean the child is left to work on their own? Is it that it's not supported by a teacher? Then how lovely, we just give work and walk out. Okay, like some of our yesteryear teachers, okay, when we had to do essay writing or they didn't want to teach, they would just give us a text. I mean, give an essay topic. What if you were the prime minister? And then, okay, and we'll keep struggling with it and they will be busy doing their own work. It's not that kind of independent learning. Here, independent learning means, okay, helping the child set your own goals. Okay, first, if you're going to give them a project, you break it down to goals and deadlines and tell them how to reach them. You're not going to give away the content, but you're going to tell them the ways to measure their progress, okay, and help them understand and evaluate their own progress. Organizing themselves, organizing their work, organizing their time, okay. So these are the things that are important, helping them organize themselves around the work, okay, understand their goals, measure their goals, and evaluate their work and how much time is left and how much more to be done. Evaluating the use of time and work. Yes, I think it was a bit repetitive up there, but yeah, that's okay. So it is not about working on your, it is definitely working on your own, but there is a lot more to it. It is about being able to understand and evaluate your own work. That is the ability that we are talking about in independent learning. Some of the facets of independent learning, as we were trying to do it across subjects, one thing that struck me while working, designing it along with the teachers, is that there are a lot of facets to independent learning, and quite a bit of it works around the language ability. So organizing yourself and your time, okay, note taking, okay, I'm sure all of us can read it here, but what is interesting is some of them are soft skills, something that helps you develop yourself as a person, become more organized, present yourself very effectively and emphatically. And another set of them, quite a bit of it, are language related. The ability to read, ability to research. So when you're researching, you're listening to audio, video material, ability to write, ability to speak to people, to collect data, collect opinions, and remembering things to do it. And you're working on certain effective techniques like note taking and creating drafts, and also the ability to work with others. So if you notice, the independent learning is a combination of soft skills and language skills, irrespective of which subject you're going to deal with. That's the beauty, okay. And here the language becomes a very, very important part. While today's example will talk mainly about language ability, okay, we will be talking about independent learning activity in the language classrooms. This kind of can be applied to any subject. With this, we do it across subjects. So at this point, I would like to hand over the session to my practitioners to present their experience of going through one of these activities. The children came out to write out a story, a little novel, across the sections. It was a collaborative activity between the sections, between the teachers. Okay, and I invite my colleagues, my co-teachers, Miss Satya and Miss Vidya, to take the session forward. And here is Miss Satya. I present Miss Satya. Thank you so much. Please take the session forward. Present the case.
Please unmute yourself, ma'am. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Namaste all. To begin with, the slide says it all. The greatest sign of success for a teacher is to be able to say, the children are now working as if I did not exist. In this platform of teachers, I think each one of us will agree to this. We are, yes. Then why and how do children in the formative years take charge of their learning? To put in a nutshell, when we learn swimming, we do not go on the first go, we do not swim. With constant learning, practicing, and if we get the nuance of it, we are out to swim on our own. Same way, children evolve as independent learners with guided facilitation, acquiring the skills and practicing the same with motivation. We as teachers play an important role in this evolving stage. An overview. Now here are some insights on how we curate our English curriculum and aim at learners taking charge of their learning with motivation and willingness. Design. First, process is the design or the planning stage. At first, we plan our goals at a macro level, focusing on the independent skills like ma'am said, like organizing, gathering information, listening, speaking, reading, writing, evaluating. Then once that is ready, we break these goals into smaller objectives and we are lesson plans based on this. Here I would like to mention that we do not have a structured textbook for our transition class grade 2. We have our inbuilt curriculum that aids in independent learning. And for grades 3, 4, and 5, we have our textbooks that is aided with a customized workbook that aims at evolving independent learning. Then comes the delivery or the processing stage. This processing stage where the actual classroom transaction and activity happens. Then comes the deriving or the practicing stage. In this stage, we look into the constant, once children have gained the skill, what am I going to do about it? So in this stage, we look into the constant application of skills and practicing it. So now, we will take you through a learning journey of a project done for the upper primary grades 4 and 5. So our main macro goal was author a book. And by the end of the project, the goal was the learner will author and write an adventure or a mystery story, taking the role of an editor, illustrator, and the publisher. I think all the skills what we were discussing is inbuilt inside this goal. So now we have the goal. How do we go take it forward? Next comes our lesson plan. This is our actual lesson plan, the flow of lesson. This is our actual lesson plan where we plan the specific goals and objectives, the timeline, the mode of delivery, what are the assignments we are going to give, how are we going to plan, etc. was completely planned at this stage. At first, to begin with our project, we sent in preparatory materials and videos through our weekly planner. Here, I would like to throw light on the weekly planner. This is a module that we send to the student at the end of the week, where they have a complete picture of what they will be doing in the online classes and what they are expected to do at home or home assignments. So in this platform, to begin with, we did not tell anything about the story in the first stage. We just sent in the materials through the weekend, where and came into the class where the children came into the class for interaction and discussion. Then we interacted and gave them the overview and the process of involved in creating a book. Who is an author? What is the role of a publisher? What is the role of an illustrator, etc. Then, once in the class, for the first week, we took each element of the story, maybe the setting, the character, the problem, the solution, etc. And we weaved in our activities into it. The whole of this week was concentrated and we broke it into blocks. So once this was done, the third stage then came in a culminating stage. We culminated all the skills they had learned. Even in fact, we had one session, took them through a session on editing and proofreading skills, paying attention to the punctuation, grammar, structure. Though they had done it, we worked with them to gain the skill. This process on building skills for authoring a book went on for a week. Then came in next we culminated all these and interacted with the student in class through different activities for a week. This was a culminating slide where we interacted with the children. Why do we need to write a mystery story? What are the projects involved? In fact, we had some activities like debates or quizzes based evolving around settings. They wove their own story, the character, the problems to solve, the events. We had children wove their story talking about the climax of a story, etc. And then came that they found out the problem solution for it. And we had a session on proofreading, as I told you. This was ready, and the children were ready with the skills and ready to take up the project. Next, what did we do? So we gave them an element of surprise. That week, we did not tell them anything. We said, wait for you've gained the skills, wait for a project. So we kept them guessing for a week. And then came in our launch or the launch of project, the execution journey. We created the slides keeping in mind the time frame, the mode of writing, the plan and execution of work, simple student-friendly instructions. So if you go through, this was the project we launched to the children. This was the slide where we had given them all the details on how to write their own story. So the project, Edwin, how they do it, where do they write the story, what is the time, how they plan the story, what are the main things they should look into when they write a story, how do they present their story. In fact, we gave them a choice of co-authoring with a friend if they wanted. So these were the steps that involved the project, and this was a checklist. So all this was done, and then we gave them 2 weeks time to write the story. So and during this time, so we got stories from enthusiastic learners at the end of 4 or 5 days, and some children took around 15 days where they took in our help, drafted a story, reworked with it, and we were always there behind them and behind helping them. So once this was done, at the end of the fortnight, we got around 100 and odd stories. Not a single story was the same as the other. We felt that was our achievement. So here I will take you through a few of the children's work where they had planned the story, the title, the setting, the characters, the problem, and all that. And this is how they made the checklist in their notebooks. And this is few pages of a young author where she had curated designed her own cover page, the content, the chapter. She took the role of an illustrator, illustrated, and here she introduced the author, wrote something about herself, and then the blurb or the back page. And this is a sample of a child's work. And our journey did not end here. We created a library of books through Padlet and through Open the platform for peer book review and post-reading activities. We collected all the 100 and odd stories, and we threw it open to the children through the Google Classroom. And we helped them with a lot of, gave them suggestions for post-reading activities, like where they can change the ending for their story, take 2 books, review the peers' work, give them feedback or anything. So this was continuing. So this project was just a tip of the iceberg we could share in the time given. Our other projects included in one of the classes, children read a story, scripted their own dialogues, and performed a role play in the class with the profs, the virtual class. Then one of the class did their travel brochures, took the role of a tourist guide, took their friends on a virtual trip through the Flipgrid platform. And in one of the classes, they took the role of a reporter, interviewed and designed questionnaires, etc. So it is a continuous work. This does not stop here. Through the year, we have several projects like this. Now I would like my colleague will take you through the different strategies that we follow in involving independent learners in classroom. Now over to you, Satya.
So namaste to one and all present here, and let me take this opportunity to take you all through a delightful journey of the other activities and strategies that we follow to help our children evolve into independent learners. So self-editing cards. So editing, as you all know, is an important part of a writing skill. And editing involves reviewing spellings, punctuations, capitalization, sentence structure, and grammar, and correcting any other mistakes too. So self-editing technique encourages the students become independent learners. So students can become better learners when they engage in deliberate learning and thoughts about what they are learning and how they are learning it too. So we have introduced the edit cards, which help the children to check their own work before submitting it. And this has become habitual for the children too. So here are a few samples of edit cards that are done by our acharyas, our teachers and our children. So moving on with the station method. So what is a station method? So stations are centers that provide students with simultaneous activities that encourage independent learning and thinking. So in physical and in online classes, station methods are used for learning stations or as practice stations too. And these type of stations aid the students to work independently and take responsibility for the work they have done. And as you are seeing, these are a few samples of tasks that we are assigned for our children involving vocabulary and language skills. Moving on, so this is an activity where it's a culmination of self-editing, self-reflection, and also station method. And this is an activity which is focused more on grammar. So in this activity, an answer key, if you can see, an answer key is given, which is provided, which helps the children to check and evaluate their learning. And a bonus activity is also given, which was aiming at time management and differentiated learning. So pre-reading activity. So to enhance the independent reading skills, where a child reads a lesson or a story independently and comes to the class prepared with the content. So pre-reading strategies allow students to think about what they already know and about the given topic, and also to predict what they are going to read. So pre-reading activity helps the children understand the main idea of the content. So most importantly, we use pre-reading strategies to increase the child's interest towards the reading skills. So these type of asynchronous activities help the children to come to the class prepared for the content, and that also help the facilitator to build upon the topic in the virtual classrooms. So if you can see, all these activities or the tasks that we have assigned will have a self-reflection, where the child reflects. I can read part 1 and 2. I can illustrate the character. I can think and ask a question. And he also reflects upon, I can help others. I can do it on my own and with help. So therefore, self-reflection is one of the most effective learning strategies that helps students to identify the areas of need where he or she needs to devote more time and attention. If you can see, there's a sample of self-reflection cards given here. Thank you so much. Gauri Acharya, over to you.
Thank you, my fellow teachers, Vidya and Satya, for supporting this presentation with the evidences you have presented. So just to quickly debrief on our experience, we found children highly driven, participative, taking responsibility for their learning and progress. And learning happens only when the child is ready to learn and not when the teacher decides to deliver. This has been our experience. This has been our understanding that, just when we decide to deliver is not when it happens. How do you? Only when the child is ready to learn. Naturally, then we'll have to prepare the child to be ready to learn. So how do we do it? What are the motivation? What is the motivation we can create to deliver? So in an independent learning situation, when you're designing the learning, and you're going to create an interest for the child to find things on his own, inquire, think, okay? So we find that the children are happy to participate, okay? There are a lot of questions, even when I went over, they're wondering whether it should happen only after a dependent learning, okay? There is hardly something called a dependent learning, as far as we think, okay? And we feel that it is about us preparing them to be able to inquire, able to think, able to explore. So if you're focusing on these areas, then the summing up becomes the actual writing part or reflecting. All that is a later part. So when you're leading them into exploration, that is when the motivation sets in and they're happy to find out things on their own. Creating the preparedness is one of the important aspects of planning teaching. So this is our reflection. This is our understanding after we have done the project, that it is so important to spend considerable time on preparedness. Okay, how do you prepare the child to launch into this project? So quite a bit of it. It is at least 25 to 30% of your time, of your effort, of your planning goes before you actually get into the project. How do you prepare the child for it? How do you work around it? Of course, in our typical B.Ed learning, we've been told pre-learning or, warm up or warmer, whatever the terms we use in our lesson planning. But that is an extensive place where the teacher is not talking as much as creating the curiosity in the child. So this preparedness phase is about creating the curiosity for the child to be willing to explore and embark. And also the child should feel confident to be able to embark on the project. Okay. So these are some of our understandings or reflections or, what we understood as we, progressed on this. And independent learning is not homework. It is not just about, it's not something we set, you do a lot of discussion in class, believe that you have scaffolded the learning, you have supported the learning, and then set everything back for homework. It is not homework. It is guided learning. It calls for designing the learning. It also calls for being focused on outcomes. So in an activity like this, there are good chances that we will get excited with the way the children respond, because we are getting result for something we have thought is a good idea. Okay, so as teachers, there are chances that we'll get excited about it. Okay, but it's very important to stay focused on outcomes. What is the outcome you wanted out of this project, and are you getting there? So, and loads of motivation that has to be built into it, stage after stage after stage. This is, I just picked up to tell you that this is directly available, and this is one of the lesson plans for independent learning, which I found on the net, okay, where it is a flow, which was a learning even for us. Today we discussed with Vidya and Satya while we were going through the presentation, that our future lesson plans for independent learning can be structured like this, in like a workflow. So this was very interesting. We are happy to share the presentation if required. So you can see how the learning objective is spelled, what you should be doing, what is the next step, stage, and there is a choice built in. If you look into the third box, please circle how you will complete step 1. There are 3 possibilities for the child to choose, either a Venn diagram or a 200-word summary or create a table of evidence. So that is the second one. Then you, after completion, you flag yourself, signpost that I have completed stage 1, and then you move into stage 2. There is a time indication as to how much this time has to take, how much it has to take for you. Okay, then what is that you're supposed to examine? Please circle how you will complete step 2. Again, 3 options are given. Okay, so it is to this level the open-endedness has to work. Okay, and so on and so forth. We can share this, or you can Google out. Even if you search it as independent learning, you found. But I thought it was a beautiful example, and if I could, I forgot to write the credit. It is from the internet, and I'm very happy to say that we're using the internet pretty well. Okay, next. Yeah, and so this brings us to the end of the presentation. I think we've done a marvelous feat of completing such a heavy topic with 3 of us as speakers, completing it well on time. We look forward to your questions, and over to Mrs. Hemal to take the session forward. Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure for us and a privilege to present in such a beautiful forum where about 500 people are online. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gauri ma'am and Satya ma'am, as well as Vidya ma'am, for that presentation. And let me tell you, if you have had the chance to go through the chat box, you would see the amazing comments and people appreciating. People are appreciating your efforts and the elements that you have added in your independent learning strategies, the ones that you have designed. So there are a few questions, and I would like you to take up the first one.
Sure.
If you're ready for it.
Sure, we're ready.
Yeah. Yes. My first question for you, Gauri ma'am, is from Mr. Panchanan. And his question is judicious guidance of a teacher useful? Connected to that, let me mention two more people who are on the same platform. Mr. Mohan Raj Satuvali also says the same. How much hand holding did you have to do at least initially? How did you help those who could not cope up with the task? And Dr. Sonali Bhattacharya is also of the same comment. I mean, she is wanting to know how much scaffolding did you have to do in the interim periods?
Yeah, I'll answer it briefly, but I will ask the practitioners who are there in the classroom to deal with it in detail. See, an independent learning for a 10-year-old cannot be completely independent, right? It has to have certain interventions in terms of follow-up, in terms of giving them an opportunity to discuss, okay, for them to understand whether they are on track. So that level of discussion and some initial education on how to go about it was definitely done. I would request Vidya ma'am, since you were there hands-on dealing with the session, I was only a part of the planning. Okay, I would request you to answer it in detail.
Sure, ma'am. So independent learning does not happen on a day or so. As I told you about swimming, because we teachers from grade 2, we are grooming them into become taking charge of the learning. How do we do it? So, for example, suppose we want the child to read independently. Grade 2, we give them a story and ask them, give them few worksheets where they illustrate the story, find out the character or etc. For grade 3, maybe we will go one step ahead and ask them to write about the character. Grade 4 design their own character, and grade 5 they do a character analysis as such. So there is a subtle scaffolding across the grades. And when we say evaluation, why do we give I can? When a child says, I have done this activity with help, we as teacher handhold them there. That's the role we play. So when they say with help, slowly we talk to them. We see what was your difficulty, where did you achieve, and we give them some more activity till the child feels, yes, Acharya, I can do it on my own. We design our curriculum is designed in such a way, and definitely, as ma'am says, on a day the child cannot take up the independent learning, we play a very, very, very important role as teachers there. We have to leave the thread to them and just pull it whenever we need it. Then only they can go and swim on their own. The very first day, if we throw them in the water, they get scared of water and they will never do it. So that is how we design. And especially the scaffolding is very important. What we do in grade 2 for a 7-year-old, for an 8-year-old, where they take charge of the learning. I think I have answered it right, and I think you've got my point. Thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you so much on that, Vidya ma'am. In fact, when you said this, I was reminded of how we all have learned cycling. I mean, didn't we need scaffolding at that time? So when we were cycling, initially our parent would, guide us by our shoulders and hold our shoulders. And slowly, after they got confidence, the hand would glide down to the seats on which we were seated to make sure we had a little balance while cycling. From the seats, it went to the rear end of the cycle, maybe a carrier, and they would hold us, and slowly they would let go of the hands. So I think this is a very nice way that you mentioned that, you need to handhold them for a particular amount of time till they are out of your, and on their own, and, going solo and individual. Could you switch off your mics, Vidya ma'am? I think your mic is on, it's echoing. So I think it's almost like that. A scaffolding is necessary, and there's nothing wrong in giving them a little help and hand holding as much as is possible. Thank you for that, Vidya. I'm going over to the next question, which is by Uttam Kumar Mandal sir, and he says, learners' independence in the classroom, how far are they desirable, and while learning vocabulary in the age group of 4 to 9 or kindergarten to grade 5. Satya, ma'am, would you like to answer this for us?
We couldn't hear you clearly, ma'am.
Your voice was not with clarity.
You were breaking up badly. Can I have the question on chat maybe posted again?
Ma'am, I'll repeat the question. If you could switch off everyone's mics. Okay, the question is by Mr. Uttam Kumar Mandal. He says, learners' independence in the classroom, how far is it desirable while learning vocabulary in the age group of 4 to 9 or kindergarten to grade 5? Ma'am, you are muted. If you could unmute yourself, please. Gauri, ma'am, you are muted.
Hello? Am I audible?
You are audible.
Yeah.
You are audible.
Thank you so much for the question. Okay. How much is the independence desirable, learner independence in the classroom? How far desirable by learning vocabulary in the age group 4 to 9 or kindergarten to standard 5? I mean, it is about setting up. I think those of us who are ELT people, we understand that the vocabulary doesn't happen by us teaching them literally the words, but creating a situation in which they will absorb the words and they will apply, right? So to some extent, some amount of, if I have to use the word manipulation instead of strategizing, or we can use the word strategizing is important. Independence is required because the best learning happens under 12. So if you're, this is something we are understanding that children pick up very, very fast under 12. So independence, if you're able to build into your activities for children to explore more and more words, lot of word games, it is definitely desirable and more desirable in the younger age groups. This is how I look at it.
Thank you on that. Thank you for that, ma'am. Let's take another question if you don't mind. Okay, Gauri ma'am, maybe take another question.
Sure.
Yeah, the question is I think we have a lot of teachers here today from all over the world, as I can see. And their one concern for the higher grades, not just the primary level, is they ask, for example, Neenu Singh ma'am. She wants to know, how do you motivate class 11 and 12 children for independent learning?
Okay, so class 11 and 12, I'll have to accept that initially we did have problems. But I think if there is this looming question in the classroom or in the room, okay, what is in it for me? WIFM, I think it's even a corporate term. Even when we, they shift us from one project to another, they try to tell us what is in it for you. So that when you move from here to there, is it money? Is it growth? Something. So you will have to create that little motivating factor to rope them in. Okay. Presentations, making them present the project to a class has been very motivating for children. Okay. Showcasing their work, forums to showcase their work has been very motivating. Okay, and one-odd projects we have even posted on our Facebook page saying that this is a brilliant activity by the group of children here that has helped us. Okay, and we will have to play it to their tune. Okay, we will have to come down to their level and see what motivates them and get them to do a whole lot of independent learning. I think this year has given us an opportunity to do that. We had designed weekly assignments and shared with them 1 week before, where the projects and everything was outlined 1 week before. And, it used to be discussed in the class. So when the child is able to walk in without being challenged that, he may not know or he's not going to be pulled up for not knowing something, that also gives us a lot of scope. And we find children doing projects and independent learning online. They have responded much better than they would do in the class. Okay, the fear of peer pressure, the peers bullying you, all that has been minimized online for us. Okay, we find, and that itself has been very motivating. One thing, the forum for presentation of their work, showcasing their work, and constant intervention in terms of timelines to follow up with the children, giving them very specific milestones and timelines, like we described in our slides. Whether it is grade 5 or grade 12, it has helped. And when the children feels that, yes, I'm able to do it, I think the children have responded beautifully. Thank you so much for that question. Yes.
Thank you so much, Gauri ma'am. I think you have really taken into the inner details, in very much detailed about how you would actually, how you could, you have suggested how you could take it on in these classes, and I think we would all agree with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a question for Satya ma'am. May I request Satya ma'am to switch on her video, please? Her camera. Satya ma'am, are you there? Yes, thank you, Satya ma'am. Satya ma'am, there is a question for you. And it is from Madam Himangni. And she says, could you please share your views on how we can develop the reading skills in students through independent learning? Let me repeat it for you, ma'am. Could you please share your views on how we could develop the reading skills in students through independent learning?
Yeah. Right. As we were presenting, we told that we were using a strategy, a learning strategy called pre-reading activity. We encourage them to read the book earlier, the content earlier. These were one strategy we used. We also have a platform called as an Eager Reader. So every month we do post a few books to the children and encourage them and motivate them to read books every day. And, sometimes if the child is finding it difficult, as a facilitator, we guide them to read the books. And wherever they're finding it difficult, obviously, we are there to help them. But I think as reading skills, basically read aloud, we encourage the child to read aloud. And wherever is a possibility, I think we help the child to improvise their reading skills. So these are the few things that has come to my mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Satya ma'am, and I'm sure everybody would agree with you on that. Thank you. Gauri ma'am, you wanted to add something to that?
I just wanted to add.
Gauri ma'am?
We have, for reading skills, this year online especially, we were able to introduce reading with scaffolded by a whole lot of graphic organizers for book reviews. So the children got opportunity to present their book reviews in terms of graphic organizers. I think they really took to reading with a lot of interest in terms of, how many characters are there. It was not just the book review we were asked to write when we were in school, but very pictorial and created in terms of call outs, clouds, and bubbles and stuff like that to get children interested. They also presented their reviews orally on Flipgrid. Okay, and this was not an opportunity to correct mistakes, but only understand if they have read. Not the spoken English part there at the moment, but we were encouraging reading through these strategies also. Thank you so much. This is just to add to what Satya ma'am had said.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I'm sure we have heard of Flipgrid and other online tools during this year of the 2020 year of the pandemic, and they have been able to read a little, though it has been all online. So there's nothing wrong. I think they will these skills. My next question is for Madam Vidya, and this is from Professor Ramani from LTI. And his question is, Gauri Madam has Gauri ma'am, you could take this question. Vidya ma'am can take another later on, because Professor Ramani has said Gauri has thrown a passing dart on learning as an inherently independent activity. Please expand on this fact.
Lovely connecting with you, Professor Ramani. It was, I had to read it twice to understand what is that I have done. Okay, just on the lighter side. Okay, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. I agree completely with you. Learning is inherently an independent activity, and we have only capitalized on our natural instinct to want to learn. At every point, children want to learn, children want to do something more than they have already done. And okay, and learning excites people, okay, all of us. So I think we've had a very good experience and understanding that it is inherently an independent activity. All we have to do is only set up the environment for them, set up the surrounding and facilitation to learn. And primary grades in particular, we are only teaching them learning, how to learn. The learning to learn is our motto, the way we want to do things. And I think it is the focus in the primary grades. It is not about the content, it is about how do you learn. So the focus is, like I said in my slide, the focus is on creating the soft skills around it in terms of, being willing to explore, being willing, feeling confident, motivated. So I think, have I answered you, Professor Ramani? I'm not sure, but I do understand that, and I really believe that it's inherently an independent activity, and it happens on its own. Learning happens on its own. We are only facilitators.
Thank you so much. I'm sure you have answered that part, ma'am. That's again quite going into detail, and I think it was a very pertinent question by Professor also. Thank you so much, Gauri ma'am. May I now invite the next question for Vidya ma'am? Vidya ma'am, are you there? Vidya ma'am, the question for you is from Priyanka Joshi. Priyanka Joshi, and she says, how would you quantify roles of teacher motivation, scaffolding, and peer pressure in making independent learners? I repeat, how would you quantify roles of teacher motivation, scaffolding, and peer pressure in making independent learners?
I take. So,
Please
motivation.
unmute yourself.
So, I've unmuted. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So, motivation, peer pressure, both are different things. So now, how do we as teachers motivate children? We don't go and say give them an expressive praise, but slowly, when through constant motivation, when they present their work, we give them comments, we give them feedback, and we tell them you have done well, but can you improvise on your vocabulary? Or when a child has really done a very good story or something, we throw out the platform for them to present their story, do a book talk, or when they do a good write-up, we ask them to read out, or when they write a poetry, sometimes we publish it in our school newsletter, where the child takes pride in it, and then indirect motivation is there. And peer pressure and independent learning, I would say, when there is a peer pressure, independent learning, in fact, removes the peer pressure. You are taking on to your work, and you're so when a child so peer pressure when a child,
what you said is right. What you said is right. Move on.
Yes. No, ma'am. I'm just. So how do I take peer pressure? Peer pressure is a beautiful platform. Independent learning is a beautiful platform where the child can overcome the peer pressure. And it is the role of we facilitators to find out the pressure and remove it from the child through encouraging the child. For example, there is a pressure when other children have done a wonderful, written a beautiful, started a book. I'm not able to do it. And maybe the other child would have pressurized. So now what do? So we take a mark of it, and as teachers, we try to talk to the child, and when the child does something else nice in another activity, we promote it or something like that. This goes on, and I as a facilitator, I definitely believe that independent learning removes peer pressure to quite some extent. Hope I've answered your question.
Thank you so much. Of course you did, to a very, very great extent. So there is a peer pressure always, and it will never fade. And it is good to have a peer pressure once in a while, because it helps you grow as a person as well. So it's absolutely fine. But as you said, independent learning, most definitely, independent learning helps you to work on your own. I always say they go solo. So you might be alienated by from your friends and your peers for some time, but when you put forth your results, you share with them, I think their pressure will come down slightly, it will decline. So let's move on to the next question. We have fantastic questions coming up over here, and this is a question by Madam Pooja Maurya. She says, maybe Gauri ma'am, you could take this. She says, as we see things post-pandemic and the new normal, do you feel kids are now habituated to using gadgets? And to bring them back, it would be a humongous task to bring them back to learning without gadgets when they are doing independent learning. Gauri ma'am, are you there? Satya ma'am, you could take the question if you like.
Thank you for flashing the question.
Gauri ma'am is back.
Yeah. 1 minute. We don't think so. I think children are excited to come back to the physical space. Children, we find, I mean, especially now with in Tamil Nadu at least, children have grades 9 to 12 have been permitted to come back to the physical space. 10 to 12 in particular, and 9 and 11 probably from tomorrow. We find that is for the senior classes. Generally, I think children will be able to let go of gadgets, and it will be more informed decision now. They will appreciate the physical space, the physical interaction, and the teacher's work a lot more is how I feel. And I think what we need to do is make sure that some amount of technology is integrated into the classrooms in terms of the teaching learning strategies. So, but children will come back with a fresh perspective on physical space and social learning. This is how I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. May I now request Satya ma'am to take the next question, which is by Rashmi Grover ma'am. Her question is, what kind of alternative grouping strategies do you suggest around these days in an offline class when the students have to maintain a distance? I repeat, what alternative grouping strategies would you suggest, especially during these days when we have to maintain social distancing? Is Satya there? Satya ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Right. See, basically, we are all away from school. We are online and virtual nowadays. And basically, the grouping happens virtually. So we do give them the links for the activity for them to, to go ahead with the task. So children do not meet one another. Maybe when they come into physical space, maybe the scenario is totally different. But as of now, I think we are virtual and yes, Gauri Acharya, can you help me?
Yeah, thank you. See, the primary grades, we have not come to the situation where we can start thinking about how we would deal with this when they come back to physical space and the grouping strategies. But children, teachers have been creative, resilient, and they've come up with solutions all along. Right from March, we are online and we have done brilliantly well across the world, across the country. Teachers and government schools have been even more creative, where we might have even wherever there's resource crunch, also teachers have been creative and they've come up with solutions. So as we get close to it, I'm sure we'll come up with some solutions. Right now, I think we haven't thought about it, and probably, let me be very honest, we haven't thought about how we are going to do group work in a physical space. because we're still wondering, will we get back to physical space? Will we get an opportunity to see our children at this point of time, especially the primary grades? Thank you for that question. Probably it will set us thinking from now on. Thank you so much, Ms. Rashmi Grover.
Thank you. Thank you, Gauri ma'am. And that brings us to the end of the last question, because our time would not permit us to take any more. And let me tell you, if you ever get a chance to see the chat box, it is overwhelming. The response is really overwhelming. And now I would like to propose. Thank you. Could you please mute yourself? Thank you so much. So I would now like to, propose a token of gratitude from my side and on behalf of LTI for this wonderful 39th webinar that we have under the aegis of LTI. And we have people from all over the world here, and teachers at different levels, from different kindergarten, from the primary level, from the senior level, everybody down, even, up to the college level too. So let me take this opportunity on behalf of LTI to thank the speakers. I kept saying, Trinity. We have Trinity over here, the three speakers from Chettinad, Harishri Vidyalaya. Thank you, Gauri Shivshankar ma'am. Thank you for that perspective that you shared with us today. And indeed, it was a wonderful session led on by you, and in which your teachers, Satya madam and Vijay Raghavan madam, also joined us. Thank you so much for making it such an interesting session, and your interaction with the people was amazing. Thank you, Manju Gautam ma'am, who is from Delhi and who has moderated the program in the beginning of our session today. How can I not thank the whole of LTI, because it is under this umbrella that all of us are learning today. Call it independently or otherwise. But you have been hand holding us all through, even due to the virtual platforms that we have taken in this last session, 2020 continuing to 2021. Thank you everyone who has been here, and thank you Mr. Praveen Sam, who has been able to give us all the technical support over here. How could I forget all of you out there who have been posting such lovely comments for the session and were able to join us today for this session. Thank you for joining us, and let me tell you, our next session is on a very important day. Today was the 39th session of webinar of LTI, and we have the next 40th, 4040, and we all go nutty on this number on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. Let's not miss that session. And this session will be on critical perspectives on ESP, especially brought for you. So that is our next session on the 14th of February, and we will meet you all with our own critical perspectives on that day, especially the same time, same place. And thank you.